offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions from around your block to around the world. The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What a great morning it is. I am Larry Rodarte. I'm filling in for Art Lewis on his show, The Art Lewis Show today. And it's been a really difficult week, hasn't it been, leading up to the election? But we're not going to really talk too much about that. We're going to talk about the early voting that is happening in our community. And today, my guest is none other than the Saginaw County Clerk, Vanessa Guerra. She's with us here today, and it's always a pleasure to have her on my show, Mi Gente on Air. And I had her on this week to just fill in, to give us information about early voting. And I thought, man, what an opportunity it would also be to have her talk to the greater audience on the Art Lewis Show. So here we are with Vanessa Guerra. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Vanessa, it is what a time it is. And the reason I had you on was because I got a lot of feedback in regard to early voting. There were some messages that I received where people didn't even know that existed for this election.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really something. I want you to just inform everybody about how this actually went down on the last election in terms of voting for early election. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you are unfamiliar with early in-person voting, it's not just you. It is brand new in 2024. So it's not something that we've ever seen before in Michigan. Prior to 2024, when we would talk about early voting, we're actually talking about absentee voting. So we would tell people, oh, you can early vote. But what we were talking about is the absentee process. And so now when we say early voting, we mean 9 days of early in-person voting. This means we have 9 days in which we treat every day just like election day. You can come to the early vote center. We'll check to make sure you're registered and then be issued a ballot that you will run through the tabulator yourself, just like you would on election day.
And this is the first time this is happening. And it was actually voted on and approved and passed in 2022, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yep. So in November of 2022, there was a constitutional amendment proposed to the voters, and it passed with, I believe, around 60%, 61% of the vote across the state. And it brought us 9 days of early in-person voting. And it also guaranteed that people could have postage paid on their absentee ballots. I will say, if you still have your absentee ballot, however, I would strongly discourage you from putting it in the mail just because we're so close to the election. You can either bring your absentee ballot in person to the early vote center. You can drop it off to your local clerk. So that's going to be your local township hall or your local city hall. And the other option is you can bring it in person to the polls on election day.
You are just so filled with so much information about this. I love it.
There's a lot to know.
Yeah. And tell us about the early voting center, because I don't know if everybody knows where that actually is. When I talked to you on my show, that was the first that I had heard that it was there at the former Sheriff Fettersfield's building office.
Yes. So when I describe where it is, I tell people if you can find the county courthouse, then you can find the early vote center. We share a parking lot with the courthouse. Parking is free right now during early voting. So come on down to that area. We are at 618 Cass Street. So we're near the courthouse and also near the county jail. We have lots of signs. It's a very busy place. So you will start seeing right away. There's, people out there from both political parties with their signs. And so you're going to know you're in the right place when you start seeing them.
Well, what a time it must be for you in your position there, because obviously with the early voting, it has made you quite more busy, right? This time around.
Yes, this has added a whole another layer of work to the county clerk's office, which we're grateful to provide this service. But it does mean that we're very busy. So just for reference, we're at over 5,000 voters who have visited us in the last 5 days. Today is day 6. We expect that we'll probably hit about 1,000 voters again. And in August, when we ran the 9 days of early voting, in the total 9 days, we had not broke 1,000 voters. So we've gone from not breaking 1,000 in 9 days total to hitting 1,000 almost every day this week.
Okay, so do you think that the 1,000 that you're hitting on a daily basis is due to the early voting being able to do that, or is it also because of just this election and how historic it is going to be?
I think it's a bit of both. I think that people, we've been open with the early vote center since the February election. So we see a lot of returning faces that came to us in February. They came to us in August. They started telling their friends to come to us in November. And then, of course, the other big thing is just that it's a presidential election. We have a lot of voters here in the state who only participate in the presidential election. And so they only come out to vote every 4 years. So this is the big one for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm grateful for it myself simply because I will be going there before the election. Not so much for myself, but for people in my family that are first time voters, believe it or not, and to register them there. Anybody can do that. They can register, correct, and then actually vote at the same time.
Yeah, so Michigan does have same day voter registration. So if it gets down to the wire and it's election day and you have someone in your family or a friend who's not registered, they can register, and as long as they provide the adequate information to the local clerk, and they can also be issued a ballot that day. The very important piece about voter registration right now, though, is that the only person who can register you and allow you to vote in this election is your local clerk. So if you have someone, take them to their local township hall or their city hall to register them. That is one thing we cannot do at the early vote center is we cannot register voters. So send them to their township hall or their city clerk, and they will be able to register. And so long as they provide the correct information, they'll be able to also vote that day.
Obviously, this has happened because I did have somebody who was from Swan Valley area, and they wanted to know if they could go to the Saginaw County voting early center. Is that what you're calling it? Yes.
The early vote center. Yep.
Yes, the early vote center. And I wasn't sure. And so I'm glad you answered that. And
Yes,
they would go to what would Swan Valley's township
Thomas Township.
Thomas Township.
Yeah, the Swan Valley School District does encompass a few townships, so more than likely it's the Thomas Township. But they can always look that up at michigan.gov/vote. Okay. But we are open to all registered residents of Saginaw County. So no matter, as long as you're registered, if you live in Brant, Bridgeport, Lakefield, anywhere in Saginaw County, you can come to the early vote center.
Wow, that's a good point too. I didn't know that either. Yeah. So that's wonderful. What is your response as the Saginaw County Clerk this time around? Because obviously, is this something that was you envisioned when the 2022 voting went on for this early voting?
I did not envision how much work it would be, but we have an amazing team in the clerk's office, but also our election inspectors. So we have equal number Democrats and Republicans. They've all worked several elections even prior to working at the early vote center. So they're very experienced, and they have really helped us make this a very smooth and organized process. When you come down to the early vote center, because we're seeing so many people, you may see a line, but I assure you, we are very organized and we get people in and out. Probably the longest wait, maybe 20 minutes. I will say on opening day, we were closer to an hour, but we're getting it down to about 20 minutes now.
Okay. So, there are limits to campaigning or political advertising near polling places. Mm-hmm. Are there similar restrictions around the early voting location?
Yes, absolutely. So we treat the early vote center, or the law treats the early vote center exactly as it would a polling place on election day. So that means you have to remain 100 feet away from the entryway of the place, of the center. We have that marked with spray paint. And both of our political parties and campaigns have been very good about staying away from the 100 feet line. If you are a voter who sees them crossing the line, you can certainly come in and let us know. That way we can go out there and talk to them. But yes, you have to remain 100 feet away.
Are there any precautions that your office is taking, considering how contentious this election is? I seen what happened down in Florida yesterday, and so it's really something that I think everybody has to be cognizant about.
Yeah, when we were looking at locations for the early vote center, we were cognizant of the fact that we wanted to be near law enforcement. To be frank, both for our own protection and for the protection of our voters and our election inspectors, but also for the security of our election machines and our ballots. And so we're right in there with the sheriffs across the street, and the courthouse is just behind us. So we have access to law enforcement. We've had a couple just medical incidences this week, and they were there right away to assist us. So we're very happy with the location that we chose. And the proximity it gives us to that protection from law enforcement.
Vanessa, you just think of everything, don't you?
We try.
Well, do you know if Bay and Midland counties are doing something similar to the early voting center we have?
Absolutely. Yep. So Bay and Midland both have a county early vote center. I don't know the location off the top of my head, but again, if you visit michigan.gov/vote, you can enter your information. It'll ask you for your first and last name, your zip code, and your birthday, and you can find where your early vote center is. All of our hours may vary a little. So just because the Saginaw one will be open 9 to 5 for the rest of the week, I don't know what Bay and Midland hours are, but I do know they will be open every day from now through Sunday. That is one of the requirements in law, is that we all have to be open the 9 days leading up to Election Day. We are not open on Monday before Election Day.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay, we're gonna go on a quick break real quick, and we're gonna come back and talk with Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra.
Sunday, November 3rd, stop out to the Sawmill Pub and Grill and watch your Detroit Lions take on the Green Bay Packers. Former Detroit Lions quarterback Eric Hipple will be on site for an autograph and photo session starting at 3:30. This event, brought to you by Garber Buick, includes prizes with a donation to benefit the Saginaw Rescue Mission. The Sawmill Pub and Grill will offer $1 beers for every Lions touchdown and include complimentary appetizers with an Eric Hipple trivia contest at halftime. Let's go Lions!
Real quick, raise your hand if you want to lose an additional 4 bands a year. Go ahead and put your hands up. Put your hands up. You voted for Kamala Harris. Oh, okay. My fault. Good, because I don't think people understand that voting for Trump means you will lose an additional $4,000 to $5,000 a year. If Trump is elected, he plans to add a 60% tariff on all imports from China. Anything in your house that says made in China, take the price that you paid for and add 60%. He plans to add a 20% tariff on all imports coming from every other country. With Kamala Harris's opportunity economy, she's not hitting you with the sales tax of doom. She's providing tax cuts to the middle and working class, so that means you will save an additional $4,000 to $5,000 a year. Plus the $25,000 she's literally handing to new homebuyers. Like, you know who to vote for in this November's election. It's Kamala Harris. Paid for by FFPAC, ffpac.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. FFPAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month, and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local Walgreens, Rite Aid, or CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at nordicUSA.com, Walgreens, Rite Aid, or CVS.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Inflation continued to show signs of cooling in September. The PCE index reading declined on an annual basis to 2.1%. Core PCE, excluding food and energy, remained at 2.7%. Americans are still spending, though personal incomes rose just 0.3% in the month. Spending increased 0.5%, stronger than forecast. Also, new claims for unemployment benefits are again reflecting that companies are reluctant to cut staff. The number of new claims declined to 216,000 last week. Those remaining on benefits also dropped to 1.86 million. Comcast shares are up more than 5% after the Paris Olympic Games boosted its recent quarter, adding $1.9 billion. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Coselda, invested in you.
Success, it's discipline, it's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best of each of us made better by the best in all of us. It's what Stifel's been doing for over 130 years. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management and investment banking firms in the industry. Stifel, it's where success meets success. Start your journey at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Get ready for a night of laughter. Rob Schneider is bringing his Rescue Husband Tour to the Temple Theater.
By the way, to be a TSA agent, do you have to promise to never work out again?
Join us Saturday, November 2nd for a hilarious evening. Tickets are on sale now. Don't miss out. Visit TempleTheater.com to grab yours today.
For 100 years, Michigan has been at the forefront of automotive history. The first assembly line, automatic transmissions, today's advanced electronics. Vehicle production is our lifeblood. But Alyssa Slotkin would wipe us out. She voted to allow states to ban gasoline vehicles. Slotkin helped funnel hundreds of millions of your tax dollars to foreign EV businesses that then laid off Michigan workers. And she took thousands in cash from EV lobbyists. That's what she did. But here's what she says.
I'll never put corporate interests ahead of what's right.
The truth, Alyssa Slotkin got paid off, while Michigan workers got laid off. And if Alyssa Slotkin gets her way, it's lights out for Michigan workers. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. SenateLeadershipFund.org.
Your WSGW morning team.
Here's a job opportunity, a chance for you to be a pumpkin spice pundit. It's looking for someone to taste and evaluate all of the fall-inspired foods that are pumpkin foods at Trader Joe's.
I'm in.
I thought you might be.
Is it a full-time gig?
Well, no, it's limited. How tasty do these things sound? Gluten-free pumpkin pancakes, pumpkin butter, pumpkin cream cheese, pumpkin bisque, pumpkin O's cereal, pumpkin ravioli, pumpkin butternut squash mac and cheese. You'll have to rate the food on how difficult it is to make, how tasty it is, write a brief description of your experience, and then sharing all your experiences on Finance Buzz, because they're the ones that are financing it all.
You've got to cook it too? You got to work for your money.
The morning team, 5:30 to 9 on WSGW.
Welcome back, and good morning to all. I am your host today, Larry Rodarte, filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show. And my guest this morning is none other than the Saginaw County Clerk, Vanessa Guerra, who's talking about early voting for this coming election. And Vanessa, thank you for being here again this morning. And I want to just ask you, last election, I'm talking about 2020, it was in the midst of COVID. And it was definitely a time that was new for us in regards to voting early. And is the turnout this year, how do you compare it to that time in 2020 as opposed to the early voting in 2024?
Yeah. So in 2024, the early voting we would have had access to was just absentee voting. We didn't have, as you know, the 9 days of early in-person voting just yet. But we still had a very good turnout. I think we were around 66% in the November 2020 election. And I expect us to hit that mark easily and really be above it is my expectation. Because now we have this other method. We have 3 methods of voting, right? We have election day, we have absentee, and we have 9 days of early in-person voting. And so I expect us to surpass the 66%. Right now, what we're seeing is that we have about 41,000 absentee ballots that have been sent to Saginaw County voters, and we have just over 32,000 of those absentee ballots that have been returned. So we're well over the 50% mark for return rate on absentee ballots, and that's just going to continue to grow as we get closer to Election Day. And we've had 5,000 as of this morning voters who have already voted just by the 9 days of early in-person voting.
Wow, that's I think really good news, and that's really that's why we, one of the beautiful things about living in the USA is the democratic process of what we're going through now, and it's something that was voted by the people in 2022, and here we are. You're experiencing it so quickly, and it's a busy time for you, I know. So I know you got to get back to work. And she said, I've only got until 9:30, Larry. But
Their center is live and running right now. I did want to throw out one other reference point. So we talked earlier in the show about how there are some voters who only vote in this election every 4 years. And so just for reference, we had an election, the primary election in August of this year. And in that one, we saw only about a 25% voter turnout. And so now, as I mentioned, I'm thinking we're going to be closer to around over 60% in the November. So that alone tells you that far more people participate in the November presidential election than they do any other election in our state, and at least in our county. So if it feels like you're being inundated with ads and text messages, you are, because this is the big one. So just really want to encourage voters, if you have your absentee ballot, return it in person to your local clerk, or you can bring it to the early vote center, or you can bring it to your polling place on election day. Please do not put that absentee ballot in the mail, because we will likely not receive it by 8 p.m. on election night.
Yes. Do you have the final numbers from the 2020 election in voting, and what percentage?
Yep, we were at in November of 2020, we had a 66% turnout.
And you're expecting to we're going to increase that this November, correct?
I think so. I think that, I expect that we will certainly at least hit that mark, that 60% mark. And I think that because of this third method of voting, we're going to surpass it. I mean, I think the state of Michigan reported yesterday that they had already 2 million Michiganders cast ballots. So that's a lot of people that have already voted before Election Day even happened.
Yeah. And the final question I want to just ask you is, are you seeing a lot of first-time voters registering in the early voting center, those that have just turned 18 since the last election?
Yes, we're seeing a lot of first-time voters, but there's quite a diversity in first-time voters we've seen. And I think, again, that speaks to the seriousness of this election. So we have our first-time voters who have never voted before. They're very excited. They're very young. But we've also seen lots of more sort of senior citizens who have never voted before. And they tell us that this is the first time they're voting. It's an important election for them. And so that was surprising to me. I did not expect to see so many first-time older voters.
Wow, that is surprising. And I have gotten texts and saying, we see where you voted in the past. Where is that coming from? Because to me, we've never had that happen before, I don't think, in past elections. And I was able to actually go in the link and see the last 4 elections that I've actually voted in.
Yes. Yep. So it's very important for Michiganders to know that who you vote for is private. You have a constitutional right to a secret ballot. We can never know who you voted for, but whether or not you voted is public information. And so they are able to access that information through the state of Michigan to identify in how many elections you have participated. But again, they can never see who you voted for. And I agree. I got a kind of a creepy text message. I haven't voted yet. It's been so busy. I haven't gotten a chance. And I got a text message that said, "We see you haven't voted yet. Here's where you need to go to vote." And so I agree. It can feel a little invasive. And I would just say, don't take that sort of frustration out on the election inspectors, the poll workers, because they're there. That's a neutral place for them. So they don't want to know your politics. They just want to ensure that you are a registered voter and that we're able to get you your ballot in a timely manner. So I know it's a frustrating time right now, but please be kind to your poll workers at the early vote center and on election day.
Such good information, and that's why I thought, we have to have Vanessa on the program, because you just are just so full of all the pertinent information for this election. And I think that the listeners out there, a lot of them are probably really gaining some information here, because it's not something that you see in your feeds on a daily basis. The political ads and everything else is kind of overseeing that. And it's funny that you mentioned the mail and the advertising. I have a slot in my door, and I basically just leave it on the floor, all those advertisements. I hate to admit that, but I do pick up some, but there's a lot. There is a lot.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Vanessa Guerra, for being with us this morning and sharing that pertinent information. And just thank you for your position there at the Saginaw County Clerk office. We really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. And we'll be back here on the Art Lewis Show.
To keep high-quality, affordable food on the table, Michigan's agriculture industry is more important than ever. But the family farms we depend on are threatened by overregulation and activist judges who act like politicians by legislating from the bench. Patrick O'Grady and Andrew Fink understand and respect the rule of law. Judge Patrick O'Grady, a former prosecutor and state trooper, has worked to uphold our Constitution for 15 years. Andrew Fink, who served as judge advocate in the U.S. Marine Corps and on the House Judiciary Committee, has always defended the rule of law and our property rights. O'Grady and Fink have consistently shown a commitment to respecting our laws and regulations as they were written. Call Patrick O'Grady at 517-279-2494 and Andrew Fink at 734-255-9309 and thank them for their work to defend the rule of law in Michigan. Paid for by Michigan Farm Bureau Family of Companies and Greenstone Farm Credit Services.
Welcome to retirement. Now, replace your paycheck. To local financial coach Kevin Ray, this is what retirement planning is all about.
Building monthly paychecks. And how you build those monthly paychecks is going to determine how well in retirement you're going to enjoy it. So sit down and build a good framework, and it starts with income.
So build your framework with Kevin and the team at Insight Folios today by calling 888-885-PLAN. That's 888-885-7526.
The people you are about to hear from are not actors. They're lifelong Michigan Republicans.
I'm a Republican.
I'm a Republican.
I'm for Trump.
But they're all crossing over to support Kristen McDonald Rivet for Congress, not Paul Young.
I'm voting for Trump, but not Paul Young.
He moved here from California
To buy a seat in Congress. Says he hasn't worked in 5 years.
Because he lives off his daddy's trust fund.
Must be nice.
He wants to slash Social Security.
Give tax breaks to companies that send our jobs to China.
That's why we're all backing Kristen McDonald Rivet for Congress.
In the state Senate, she fought to bring costs down.
She even got us a tax cut. I don't vote for Democrats, but I am backing Kristen McDonald Rivet for Congress. Look, I'm all for making America great again, but Paul Young ain't it.
Kristen McDonald Rivet for Congress. From Mid-Michigan, for Mid-Michigan.
I'm Kristen McDonald Rivet, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Kristen for Michigan.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025, if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at www.robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodity interest can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Display prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. This station does not recommend any specific investment.
Blitz coming. McKenzie sees it, pitches it to the near side. And here goes Terrence Brown. He gets a block on the edge by Kraft. He's inside the 20, staying on his feet. He's inside the 5. Touchdown, Saginaw Valley.
After bouncing back into the win column with a 37-10 victory in Detroit, the Cardinals of Saginaw Valley State University return home Saturday to take on the Davenport University Panthers. Game day coverage begins at 12:30 in a special presentation of SVSU football on 106.3 FM, The Core.
Broadcasting online, courtesy Stormmaster Exteriors. And from the Stormmaster Exteriors studios, this is WSGW.
The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is Larry Rodarte, and I am filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show this morning, and it's a beautiful morning. And I just want to thank again Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra for joining us this morning and talking about the early voting election, which is so important to know that information. And I was talking with my producer here, Jonathan Dent, and we were talking about how actually it's surprising to hear that the first-time voters from the older generation are, that she's seeing that and was surprised herself that it's the first time for some of the older voters. And we know that there's a lot of 18-year-olds that are first-time voters. And it's just really a historic time that we're living in with this election and everything that's happening around it. And, I want to talk about a little bit about because I work with a lot of young people out there and a lot of them are talking about that this is their first time voting. And I guess I'm probably pushing it on them a little bit more than just them bringing it up. But every day I go in and say, okay, did you vote today? Have you registered today? When are we going to vote? I put it in that way because I want to say that I'll take them if need be, because sometimes they don't have a ride or whatever. And sometimes I see that they're kind of putting it off. I don't see that any of them are actually, saying, oh yeah, I really want to go out and vote. But there is definitely the interest that I have seen in this election compared to others. And one of my nephews, I have several, and one of them, he just said to me recently that he didn't think he was going to vote because his vote didn't matter anyways. And I think he was disillusioned with the whole process and the whole election because he has half of his family that is for one candidate and the other half for another candidate. And he sees the arguments, he sees, what has been transpiring. And I said, it's really important this election because I had to explain to him that Michigan is a battleground state and that we are one of 7 of the states that probably will choose the next president. And he said, what are you talking about? Because he said, that it's the Electoral College that is going to, determine who the next president is. And I says, well, the thing is that, do you know that there are 7 states that are being targeted? And I said, why do you think Kamala Harris was in Saginaw? This was the day that Kamala Harris was over at Hemlock Semiconductor. And I says, and why do you think that Jill Biden is in Bay City? And, I don't think as the state of Michigan has seen the type of attention that we have gotten in this last month or so. And because we are a battleground state, and those states, the other 7 that are part of Michigan's part of it is Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, the big one, and Wisconsin. Pennsylvania has like 19, I think, electoral votes that they will probably, it's one of the seven that is probably the largest in terms of um, that's being targeted, and so I told him all this information, and he says, wow, you have a lot of information. And I'm like, well, I says, it's really important this time around, and we are one of the battleground states. And so, I want to tell everybody out there, the listeners, to really encourage and inform our young people, maybe even some of our older generation, that this is their first time voting, the importance of this election. And we are. I've even noticed on some national news outlets that they're coming into Saginaw and doing interviews with our citizens. I saw one on, I think it was NBC yesterday. A big, actually, they had an anchor who was from Saginaw, and I think that may have been the connection. But it was a really nice piece in regards to the Adams Boulevard area in Saginaw, and how neighbors are, even though they are voting differently, they are still working together and helping each other to get their vote out. So, it's really a historic time, a contentious time, yes. And I'd like to even talk about a little bit about what is everybody doing to kind of alleviate some of that angst that we're all feeling. I feel it, but we do have a caller. He says, hats off to Saginaw County Clerk for helping to make early voting seamless, and we are grateful for the help they received. So that's a plus, and I think we are on the right track. I mentioned earlier about the Florida incident where some young individuals went and targeted some elderly to try to stop them from actually voting. A 71-year-old and a 54-year-old that called the police, and he had a machete. Can you believe that? A machete at the voting center. We just can't have that kind of thing. And you've seen also where some of the ballots are being burned in the ballot boxes. I think that was in Vancouver and as well as in Oregon. And so man, we have to be ready, right? We have to really talk with each other about the importance of the voting. Try to get away from the arguments and talk about the importance of voting and keeping the integrity of the democratic process. We will be right back. We're going back into commercial, and we'll talk more about voting early.
My name is Tarsha Works, and I'm running for Saginaw County Commissioner, District 3. I would love to have your vote on November 5th. I am a small business owner of Tarsha Works Consulting. I have a passion for public service and am a strong advocate for economic development and public health. I am passionate and dedicated to moving Saginaw County forward. I would love to be your voice and serve as County Commissioner for District 3. Paid for by the Committee to Elect Tarsha Works for Saginaw County Commissioner, District 3.
We're proud to make Pioneer Sugar for you and your family. Proud to be found in your kitchen, the heart of your home. And it doesn't really matter what you make with Pioneer Sugar, whether it's with our granulated white, light brown, or soft confectioners. It's the memories you'll make using it that will matter the most. Pioneer Sugar, pure and all natural. Made from sugar beets grown right here. What could be sweeter than that?
As jobs disappear, everyday prices skyrocket, and decent housing costs a fortune. It's clear we have liberal career politicians like millionaire Kristen McDonald Rivet to blame. Campaign season, Kristen McDonald Rivet talks about how much she's done for us. But her actual record? Millionaire Rivet gave herself a pay raise she doesn't need, while raising our taxes and your energy bills. That's right. Rivet backed legislation that nearly doubles the average electric bill for Michiganders, costing you over $2,700 a year. Yeah, it'd be nice to keep that money in your wallet. But because of millionaire Rivet's greed, she gets a pay raise, and we get stuck with higher taxes, higher energy bills, and less money to live our lives. More for Rivet and less for us. It's simple. Liberal career politician and insider Kristen McDonald Rivet doesn't give a about us. Win It Back PAC is responsible for the content of this ad, paid for by Win It Back PAC, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. WinItBackPAC.com.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medishare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, Medishare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And Medishare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is November 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE. 877-26-BIBLE.
Cormier delays, shoots and a save by Papado, and he's got his first one in the OHL.
The Saginaw Spirit visit the Owen Sound Attack Saturday afternoon at 3:45 on 100.5 FM WSGW.
Welcome back. I'm Larry Rodarte here on the Art Lewis Show, and I'm filling in for Art on this Halloween Thursday. It's Halloween. And how many of you are thinking back of the times when we were young? And, well, at least when I was young, and in that time period, we had pillowcases, I remember, as where we would collect our candy from. And I don't know if kids do that too much today. Somebody let me know. But it is Halloween, and it's pretty warm for Halloween. And I don't know if it's going to rain or not, because it seems like most Halloweens in the past few years, it has rained and it has been cold. But with this unseasonably warm weather that we're having, I hope the kids have a great time, you know, at the trunk or treats or whatever they are doing.
It's going to get a little bit colder here today.
Is it?
Larry? Yeah. Round of rain's coming through, and then it's going to get pretty cold.
No,
More on that during the farm show at 11:30.
Yeah. But, you know, it's great to hear from the callers, and the one that said hats off to Saginaw County Clerk for helping to make early voting seamless. And they're grateful for the help that they had received. And, you know, I'm curious as to how that is going to go. So I think I'm going to go to the early voting center myself before the election and take some individuals with me that can help them to get registered and vote. So, you know, it's nice that we have that available to us. And, you know, I just want to mention as well, you know, there are a lot of individuals that are turning or have turned since the last election, 18, and I've talked about it here this morning. And I just want to make sure, you know, that there is also that they know if they don't have rides or whatever, Stars also has the buses that will be available for free to the voting precincts to vote, as well as I believe to the early voting centers. So that's always an option as well if they say that they don't have a ride or, you know, need a ride. But I'm sure that even some of their churches and some of the polling places, you know, will have information as well as how to get them over there. So it's just such an important time in historically that we're living in with this election. And you know, like I said, I voted in the last few elections, and I wanted to bring up a point when we talked earlier about. I said, and I think Vanessa also said that she had received a text in regards to letting you know that, you know, the history of your voting when you voted, not who you voted for, but the history of when you actually voted. And I can probably say from looking at voter.com that I have voted. Well, it had that I had voted since 2016 every election. But you also have to be very careful in regards to links because they can be scams, especially in this day and age on your phone. It can be so easily, you know, attractive for you to actually link on and tap onto that link. But just be cautious, you know, make sure you know what you're tapping into. I was privy to the information that voter.com was out there and that this was happening. And so I think that's why I actually hit the link. So, Jonathan, what do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, it's been something that clerks' offices have been putting warnings out about for months now of, yes, you're going to be getting all of these political advertising text messages and from groups saying, just vote. It's important, vote. But there are some malicious actors out there who are going to put a little link in and say, click here to find out more. And really it's a ploy to take you somewhere that's not going to help you. It's going to try and steal certain information from you. So got to be careful when you're talking about the internet or political or any sort of advertising or messaging that you're getting to your phone or email. So
yeah, and boy, are we getting them right.
Yeah.
Well, or you telling me earlier on the break?
Yeah, you had said that all of your mail
comes through a slot,
and you just left it there on the floor. I said, yeah, most of mine's going in the to burn barrel that I've got in the garage.
Yeah, because I have never seen it so much in the past, and I thought, I mean, I guess that happens every year, but this time around, man, it is there. It is definitely there, and I think people are really getting tired of it. But I for one, I am excited about Tuesday, but at the same time, I can't wait till it's over. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to watch the news that night of. I'm just pretty anxious about it. But wow, we are living in historic times. And, I just want to make sure on today's program on the Art Lewis Show that we talk about the importance of voting and getting out there to vote. So we will be right back. And I want to thank everybody for listening to the last hour.
I have with me Jeff Carrick from MCare Choices, formerly Medicare Choices. Jeff, I'm understanding that there's big Medicare plan changes we need to look forward to.
Yes, all Medicare beneficiaries will receive a letter in the mail from their current carrier called the ANOC letter, and that's the Annual Notice of Change.
Jeff, what is the benefit to coming to Medicare Choices to get your Medicare review?
First of all, Jim, we're a no-fee service. It doesn't cost you one penny. We have all the major carriers here in the state of Michigan. We analyze your plan. We find out, who are your current doctors, your current prescriptions, and any kind of benefit preferences that are very important to you, and put that into a software system that it will help guide us to the best plan for you.
Jeff, if somebody has questions and wants to set up an appointment, what should they do?
They should give us a call at area code 989-899-7820. And remember, we cover not just Saginaw, but all the surrounding areas. And you can come to our office here in Saginaw, or we can schedule an appointment to come right to your home, or meet at the local coffee shop.
Can they find you online?
Yes, at mcarechoices.com.
Think, Andrew Fink. Elect Andrew Fink to the Michigan Supreme Court. As a former Marine, Andrew Fink will defend constitutional freedoms and uphold private property rights. Think, Andrew Fink. Andrew Fink's experience as a successful attorney and constitutional knowledge will strengthen our court. Andrew Fink will respect the law as written. Finish your ballot. Finish with Fink. Elect Andrew Fink to the Michigan Supreme Court. Paid for by Michigan Realtors with regulated funds, not authorized by any candidate.
This week on Generating Gratitude, two amazing stories. First, a guy that beat meth, and then a woman who beat prison and was in a coma for a year. All on Generating Gratitude.
Generating Gratitude with Joe Volk. Sunday afternoons at 5 on WSGW, 100.5 FM and 790 AM. And online, WSGW.com.
Well, that's it for this hour of the Art Lewis Show, presented by Westside Decorating Center. I want to thank Vanessa Guerra, the Saginaw County Clerk, for joining us this morning and giving us such great information. And coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, here in the activity that's happening in Saginaw County. But before that, here is the news.
Broadcasting from the Stormmaster Exterior Studios, WSGW, Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, WSGW FM, Carlton.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. A court hearing is scheduled to get underway right now in Philadelphia in the district attorney's bid to put an end to Elon Musk's $1 million a day voter sweepstakes in battleground states. So far, there's no sign of the Tesla CEO. KYW Radio's Tim Jimenez.
Lawyers representing Musk's America PAC, they're making this push, though, to bump this case to a federal court because the PAC supports the federal election candidate. DA Krasner filed the suit at the beginning of the week over the PAC swing state sweepstakes, voters signing a petition and eligible to win $1 million, and that prize being awarded daily through Election Day.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will bring their campaigns to Nevada and Arizona today. Mr. Trump will also visit New Mexico. The vice president rallied students in the college town of Madison, Wisconsin yesterday.
Every day I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who are voting for the first time.
Both candidates have promised to lower skyrocketing prices. This morning, the government announced a key inflation gauge has dropped to near pre-pandemic levels. Business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Borrowers would love to see lower interest rates over the course of the next few months. Savers, they're still clinging to those higher interest rates on their CDs and their savings accounts and their money market accounts, but those interest rates are coming down.
A fact-checking program on X may not be getting the job done ahead of the election. CBS's Stacey Lynn.
When the nonprofit Center for Countering Digital Hate analyzed the feature, it found it isn't addressing the flood of election misinformation being spread. Accurate notes correcting false and misleading claims were not displayed in about 74% of the posts.
The death toll is up to at least 95 now in monstrous flash floods in eastern Spain.
Bulldozers pushed thick mud and debris through what was a city street. The mayor of one town says we were trapped like rats. The water hit with tsunami-like force when a week's worth of rain fell in one day, landing on ground baked rock hard after months of drought, sweeping away houses, cars, people. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
Dow down 177. Starbucks' new CEO is making more changes.
I got your order. Oh, thank you, but I asked for milk in my coffee, though.
Brian Nickel is planning to eliminate some of the guesswork for baristas by bringing back condiment bars, so customers can customize their own coffee again. After 3 consecutive quarters of declining sales, he's also vowing not to raise prices over the next year. And Nickel is bringing back the good old black Sharpie for writing names and cute messages on cups. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance.
The boys are back in town. The 1980-81 Turner Cup champion Saginaw Gears, who will be inducted into the Saginaw County Sports Hall of Fame class of 24, will be celebrating their induction Saturday, November 2nd at the Sawmill Pub and Grill, 19 Sawmill Boulevard. Please join us at a meet and greet starting at 7 p.m. in the company of such fan favorites as Marcel Como, Warren Holmes, Mike Hartman, and Scotty Gruel, just to name a few. Saturday, November 2nd at the Sawmill, 7 p.m. is when it all starts.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025, if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at www.robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodity interests can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Display prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. This station does not recommend any specific investment.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Live From the 100.5 and 790 newsroom, this is WSGW News.
Cloudy skies and 67 degrees at 10:05. Good morning, I'm Mike Percha. Flint's 3rd Ward still does not have a representative on the Flint City Council after a meeting on Tuesday failed to make quorum. The council has been attempting to meet to fill the position following the death of council member Quincy Murphy, who passed away in September, though several delays and quorum failures have prevented that from happening. On October 14th, during interviews with the candidates for the seat, the meeting was abruptly adjourned after a woman in the audience brandished a gun. No arrests were made after it was determined the woman owned the firearm legally. However, council members have expressed concerns over their safety following the incident, with 2 members absent for that reason on Tuesday. Another council member was also absent, though no reason has been given for his absence. And a 4th council member who was attending the meeting left early, citing a previous commitment. Because the council has failed to make a quorum yet again, it has breached the city charter. A meeting with the city's Ethics and Accountability Board this Friday will determine the next steps for the council. The Michigan Department of Transportation is getting federal funding to install thermal imaging cameras on public transit vehicles in a number of communities. Located in both rural and urban environments, the initial partner transit agencies will test out the functionality on up to 60 transit vehicles, ranging from vans to large motor coaches. The agencies include Blue Water Area Transit, the City of Alma, Community Action Agency of South Central Michigan, and the Regional Transit Authority of Southeast Michigan, with their service provided by Indian Trails. The cameras are designed to improve detection of vulnerable road users like pedestrians and cyclists in a variety of lighting conditions and operating environments. Data from the National Transit Database shows that bus-to-person collisions accounted for 15% of fatalities from 2008 to 2021. WSGW News Time, 10:07.
Attention homeowners, with our fall schedule filling up fast and concerns of inflation, Stormmaster Exteriors wants you to save big on your roof replacement next spring. For a limited time, simply go online to stormmaster.pro or call 989-488-4846 to book your free winter roof inspection. Sign on before December 1st for a spring 2025 roof replacement, and we will guarantee you 2024 pricing. That's right. All you have to do is sign on now with next to no money down required for your spring 2025 roof replacement, and we guarantee 2024 pricing. Did you know that each year the cost of materials and labor increases? Don't let inflation break your bank. Protect your home and maximize its value this spring with a new roof from Stormmaster Exteriors. Call your local roofing experts, Stormmaster Exteriors, today, 989-488-4846. That's 989-488-4846.
WSGW News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. If you're stressed out about the upcoming presidential election, you aren't alone. The American Psychological Association says 69% of Americans are stressed out and 72% are worried about the election fallout. Chief of Psychiatry for Sinai Grace Hospital in Detroit, Dr. Gerald Shiner, says he's not surprised. He says we hang our hat on polls, which aren't always correct. He says the election is close and he thinks that scares some people. He says what you can do is to vote, and whatever the outcome, the country will prevail. Here's good news for those living here in Michigan and looking for a new job. Michigan News Network's Tony Ortiz reports.
According to the latest figures from the Department of Labor and from Wallet Hub, Michigan is the 17th best state in the nation for those in search of a new job. The survey reveals that workers in the state benefit from one of the highest starting salaries in the country, as well as a good median annual income. However, Michigan is one of the states with the highest average of what officials at Wallet Hub are calling discouraged workers. In addition, the survey also does not look positively at the state's future employment outlook. Number 1 in the survey of the best states to find a job is New Hampshire, followed by Vermont, Minnesota, and Massachusetts. Occupying the bottom spots in the survey, Indiana, Louisiana, and West Virginia. For the Michigan News Network, I'm Tony Ortiz.
The waters on Lake Michigan will be rough today. The National Weather Service issued a gale warning for all open waters of Lake Michigan starting today at noon until overnight tonight. Strong winds will cause hazardous waves, which could capsize or damage vessels and reduce visibility. WSGW News Time, 10:10. I'm Mike Percha.
Here's your WSGW weatherology forecast. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the lower 70s. Rather breezy with winds out of the southwest around 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. For tonight, mostly cloudy and breezy, a low near 43. By Friday, skies become mostly sunny, high around 50 degrees. Then by Saturday, mostly sunny skies and a high around 57. Sunday, a chance for rain showers here late, cloudy, high of 58 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with the WSGW weatherology forecast. Currently, it's 66.
Now, the only local radio talk show offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions. From around your block to around the world, The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone out there in the listening world. I am your host this morning, Larry Rodarte, filling in for Art Lewis on this Halloween day. Halloween, what a special holiday it is for many. That some people just really love that holiday. And I do want to mention that, times have changed so much in regards to how kids actually celebrate Halloween. And, when I was a kid, it was, running from house to house, like I mentioned, with a pillowcase and collecting candy. And, I don't know if kids do that so much anymore. But, it seems today the trunk or treats are the way to go for safety reasons. And at the Civica, the Union Civica, we just had one this last Saturday, which was really nice. Justin Gell's 9th annual trunk or treat, and I see that a lot of the churches and even Saginaw government is also throwing one. I think they already had it. But the point is that things change, from how we have celebrated, holidays in the past. And one of the holidays that Mexico celebrates, and I'm bringing this up because I'm a part of it, is Dia de los Muertos. But it isn't Halloween. It's Day of the Dead. It's a whole different celebration. And, the Union Civica, which I'm a part of, they're celebrating their 15th annual Dia de los Muertos celebration. They started in 2008 because they wanted to educate individuals about that tradition and part of their culture. And I think that's one of the signature events now that is happening with the Civica. But I noticed that there are a lot more activities now for Dia de los Muertos, and I think there's a much better understanding as to what it is. And the Saginaw Art Museum is having their event also on November the 2nd with altars, ofrendas, if you will, that are dedicated to deceased loved ones, because that's one of the highlights of the celebration is putting up an ofrenda, the altar, in remembrance of those who have passed, your loved ones and friends. And the Civica, like I said, they're also having the celebration on November 2nd from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night. And the reason why it's going so late is because part of the tradition, like in Mexico, is that many individuals on that holiday go to the grave sites of their loved ones and decorate their grave sites. And, they have a big celebration with candles lit, and it's very moving scene. I was fortunate to witness it in Janitzio, Mexico, many years ago. And we here are not probably going to put up candles for safety reasons, but we actually put up Christmas lights around the altars that we have presented at the Union Civica. So that's why we have it going into late hours, so that we can turn the lights down and just kind of participate in that the way they do in Mexico. And so, the listeners out there, I wanted to bring this to the attention because what I'm seeing, after 15 years of us presenting the Dia de los Muertos celebration in Saginaw County is something different this year. And that is the fact that I have had individuals who are non-Hispanics who come up to me and they say, can we celebrate Dia de los Muertos? They're actually wanting to participate themselves. And I say, absolutely. I think it's for everybody and anybody. I had an individual who wasn't sure if that would be something that would offend Latinos if they participated. And I said, absolutely not. And I could see that this individual was really grieving for someone. And it was nice to share the information with her that when I lost my mother, almost 22 years now, setting up an ofrenda in my home, not during Dia de los Muertos, but soon after when she passed, it was a healing gesture for me. It really helped me in the grieving process of losing her and remembering her. And spiritually, I really felt that I was still connected. And so, this individual who came to me recently, I shared with her that, yeah, there's no problem with that. Not on my end. And that's part of the whole reason why we present Dia de los Muertos celebration at the Civica, is to enlighten and to educate and to, inform. And then I had somebody actually who came up to me at my food truck as I am out there selling potatoes to the community. She came up and, she wanted to make sure, like I said, that she wasn't offending anybody by actually putting up her loved ones on an altar that had Hispanic people. That was really interesting. And I said, no, I mean, it's really for anybody who you want to remember in a way that you're connected with your deceased loved ones. And she wanted to know too, was it too soon for individuals who may have passed, say, in the last 3 months? Now, I know some people, they do find that is too soon, and they want to wait what they call, it's called like luto, which, means, a period of time of letting them rest, like since I remember in the old days when somebody passed away, a family member who was grieving was not to go out into the community for any celebration, for dance or anything, for a good year. And many people, actually, I know I did, abided by that in the old days. And I think that now many people will say, well, they wouldn't want you to grieve, and they want you to be happy, and I agree with that too. But that's just old traditional ways, and I'm sure that doesn't pertain just to the Hispanic community. Jonathan, what do you think about all that?
I think it's interesting. I definitely, when you talk about kind of the history behind Dia de los Muertos and similar celebrations, when you think about, well, is it for everybody? Dia de los Muertos comes from All Saints Day,
right,
which is a celebration of all those who have passed away in the faith.
Yeah.
And so it really is for everybody. It's a yes, that is how the Hispanic culture or the Mexican culture celebrates it. Is it a thing in Spain, or is that Mexico?
No, actually, it's not just Mexico. It's celebrated, in many different countries, and it's the connection of All Saints Day and All Souls Day in the Catholic faith.
Yep,
Mhm.
and but that's just one way to celebrate that.
Mhm.
I always think it's interesting to look at history behind a lot of
Yeah.
celebrations and things.
I think Mexico really, in their traditional presentations of color and everything else, they take it a different step from maybe some other countries and all. But it really has become very popular in the United States. 15 years ago, you didn't see it within the greater communities. It was primarily within households of Mexican families. And my family, my in-laws, my mother-in-law was very connected to. It was a way because she came from Mexico. Aeropuerto, she actually found it, nice to have those family members in remembrance within her household, and she had it up for a whole month. It wasn't just during Dia de los Muertos; it was leading up to it. But for those who may not know, really, it's a mesh. The actual celebration today is a mesh, reaching back to the Aztec and the Mayan cultures, who really spiritually believe that their deceased loved ones came back into their lives during this time period. And when the actual Spanish conquistadores, they came over to the New World, they brought their faith of Catholicism, and that's where you get that mesh of Catholicism with the indigenous practices of remembering your dead. And so that's how you get Dia de los Muertos celebration of today. But we're going to talk more about that when we come back from a commercial.
Kamala Harris worked with Joe Biden to make things cost less for all Americans. Here are a few examples of what they did. They made a rule that prescription drugs can't cost more than $2,000 for people on Medicare like seniors and the disabled. They lowered the cost of inhalers to $35. They lowered hearing aid prices by making them available over the counter. And they lowered the price of insulin to $35 per month. Paid for by American Independent Radio.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Microsoft and Meta Platforms reported upbeat earnings, but shares of both are losing ground. Wall Street was hoping for an even stronger forecast from Microsoft, and investors are concerned about high spending on AI at Meta. Inflation measured by the PCE index moderated in September, 2.1% on an annual basis, though there was no change in the core reading, excluding food and energy. It remained at 2.7%. Comcast shares are rallying. The parent of NBC Universal saw an even bigger boost than anticipated from the Paris Olympics. Earnings and revenue were upbeat. Comcast is said to be looking at separating its cable network business. Peloton has named Ford executive Peter Stern as its new CEO and president. The stock is rallying. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Cosola. Invested in you.
With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates are used to patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. But for comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes identity theft issues that arise. Start your 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use my name as your promo code, Clay.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hey, it's Michael Smerconish. Business owners and CMOs, how do you plan on growing your business? Have you plateaued on your social media and online efforts? Why not tap into podcasts and radio? In the U.S., audio reaches more than 271 million people weekly. That's more than social media and digital combined. My friends at Radioactive Media know the recipe to launch, optimize, and scale scale performance by building compelling audio campaigns which work. I personally know the principles of radioactive media, their personal approach and knowledge of the medium, unparalleled. For advertisers who want to reach the right audience with the right hosts and programs, text the word profits to 511-511. Heck, you can even buy spots on my program. If you're a mid-sized company or well-funded startup with a monthly budget as low as 5 figures, they can help. Text the word profits to 511-511. Online, radioactivemedia.com. Text rates may apply.
Art Lewis here to invite you to join Alpha Media and Collect Vacations for a trip visiting the National Parks of America next September. You'll begin by flying from Detroit to Scottsdale, Arizona to begin this fabulous tour. You'll spend time in Sedona before arriving at the Grand Canyon and spend the night on the South Rim. Then it's on to Lake Powell, Marble Canyon, and Kanab before heading to Zion National Park. Next, you'll venture to Bryce Canyon to view the Hoodoos before driving to Salt Lake City. Following that, it's off to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and the Grand Tetons. Yellowstone National Park with its geysers and hot springs awaits your oohs and ahs before heading to Cody and the Buffalo Bill Center. Finally, visiting Crazy Horse Monument and Mount Rushmore in Rapid City before flying home. This 12-day spectacular includes 10 breakfasts and 6 dinners, plus transportation from Saginaw to Detroit Metro and return. For more information, request a Zoom link with Colette's Ed McKenna for Monday, November 18th from 3 to 4 p.m. Or request a brochure by email or U.S. mail by emailing artlewis@wsgw.com.
The Art Lewis Show is presented by West Side Decorating Center. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me this beautiful morning on Halloween. And today, Larry Rodarte here. I'm filling in for Art Lewis, and we're talking about the Mexican holiday that is now celebrated throughout the United States called Dia de Muertos. In Mexico, they actually refer it to Dia de Muertos mostly. And here in the United States, it's become known as Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And so we're talking about that. And, for the last 15 years, the Civica over there on Wadsworth, 2715 Wadsworth, has celebrated a big celebration to enlighten and educate the community and to celebrate the tradition that has really become more popular, especially with the movie Coco by Disney. And a lot of people are coming there to actually look at the ofrendas and celebrate, as well as at the Saginaw Art Museum. They are also putting on a presentation. And, I want to make sure that everybody understands too that, the meaning of Dia de los Muertos to those that celebrate it and understand what it actually means. Because although it's referring to Day of the Dead, because this is a time when our ancestors, our indigenous ancestors, believe that the spirits actually of their loved ones, came to visit during this time, during All Saints Day and All Souls Day. Even though it's talking about death, it's actually a celebration of life. And somebody who doesn't understand, they'd say, how can that be? And why would they call it Dia de los Muertos? And I get that question quite a bit. But the best way I can explain it, really, from my experience and knowing what it really is a celebration of life. It's remembering the life of those that have passed on, your dear loved ones. And the best way I can, kind of explain it that makes sense, within this confusion sometimes, because you got the confusion of that, it's like Halloween, and then you got the confusion of, it's a Day of the Dead. Why are you celebrating the dead? Or just those types of thoughts that come towards me. And the best way I can explain it is that, we all know that we think of our mortality, and I can honestly say that in Mexico, they have a different view of it. They look at it differently. And although we all know that we have to pass on at some point, because that's just the circle of life, it's a way that in Dia de los Muertos, we kind of say, although we have to die in this life, in this earthly life, we celebrate our eternal life in our whatever our beliefs are, whatever your beliefs are, with the eternal Father. And so when you see individuals who are celebrating this holiday and they have the skeletal face, they are actually kind of mocking death and saying, although we are, we die in this earthly life, you can't defeat us, death, because we have an eternal life that we live on and we celebrate that life. And so that's the best way I can explain it. Did I do a good job with that, Jonathan?
I think so. And I think the idea of mocking is that where the calavera face paint comes in?
Yeah. And like I said, in the colors that are very indicative of Mexican culture, they really go out of their way, some of them, and they use not just the black and white paint on their faces, but do flowers and around the eyes and different. The women use a lot of different, more color than say the guys, but that's really just showing that we're saying, to the Grim Reaper, you cannot defeat us. We go on to our eternal life in our spiritual life in heaven.
And I can't speak for other faiths necessarily, but in the Christian faith, that is a huge theme that goes throughout the whole thing, especially in the Gospels and the epistles. The Apostle Mark, or not Mark, the Apostle Paul writes a lot about mocking death and that it has no effect. So it's cool to see it celebrated in such a vibrant way. It's not just a, yes, I know this and I believe it in my heart. It's a showing of that, that belief in that.
Yeah. And to me, and I've seen some articles and I kind of have to agree with it. It's really a healthier way to look at death. And that's something that I'm saying this personally because I have felt it. And like I say, when I have lost members in my family that were close to me, it's helping in the grieving process. Of course, having faith, and whatever it may be, that there is an eternal life. That's much more healthier, obviously, because what is the alternative? And so, we as Mexicanos, as the Latin community, we really celebrate that in a big way with Dia de los Muertos. And it's just a combination there of your tradition and your culture in a big way that has not been presented to the greater community in the past. And I'm talking years back, I'm talking 20 years, 30 years. You never would have seen this because we probably may have felt intimidated or laughed at if we were to present this. And so, as we have evolved and assimilated into our culture, we want to present this for a more better understanding of actually who we are and what we contribute to society and what our ancestors and our family members in Mexico actually do still celebrate. And we bring that to with us. And I'm sure that it's celebrated much more within those who are coming, more recently from the Latin American countries and all. And so, we have to accommodate here in Michigan because the main flower that they, the marigold flower, the orange marigold that they believe is like when they put it out throughout Mexico during this time, it is actually like a path for the spirits to come through. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the thing is that here in Saginaw, we just don't have the marigold flower the way they do in Mexico. So we either buy them from Amazon, fake flowers, or, we try to collect them. And I know that in the past, I've had friends that tried to grow them for this season, for this time period of Dia de los Muertos. And we just don't have them like they do throughout Mexico. And it's really beautiful. I got to go to Morelia, Michoacan, which is in the heart, in the middle of Mexico a few years back, and just was really taken by how, I thought, well, they're it's in their homes, it's in the church, in the Catholic church there, but no, it was all over. It was in the post office, it was in the government buildings, it was in the main plazas, on the streets, because pretty much everybody celebrates that. over there, and it just was really beautiful to see, all these flowers, and then when you actually go to the grave sites, which, wow, it's incredible to see how the vigils that they have that are there, and then also at the same time, in the midst of this vigil of somebody who may have lost somebody or who's very hurt at that time, you see a huge celebration of people going on, music and foods that are brought to the grave sites. I mean, it really is something to see. And I had to actually gasp the first time I saw it for what it was. And it was very, a very traditional cemetery in the back of a church in Janitzio, which is an island. And it just really took my breath away, actually, because as we approached the island, it was like a Christmas tree all lit up. And I was on a boat with myths all around. I mean, just the whole idea of it and all. But a lot of the young people, they're young, they want to celebrate, and they climb up the island on a hill, and at the top of the hill is where they really celebrate with the music, and Benito Juarez is there, the famous president, and they celebrate in a big way, and it's just I wish everybody could see that, but I know that sometimes it's difficult because of the restrictions, the safety restrictions in Mexico and all, but I do want to encourage everybody, if they get a chance, to actually go to Mexico. But we'll talk more about that when we come back from break.
Think Fink, Andrew Fink. Elect Andrew Fink to the Michigan Supreme Court. As a former Marine, Andrew Fink will defend constitutional freedoms and uphold private property rights. Think Fink, Andrew Fink. Andrew Fink's experience as a successful attorney and constitutional knowledge will strengthen our court. Andrew Fink will respect the law as written. Finish your ballot. Finish with Fink. Elect Andrew Fink to the Michigan Supreme Court. Paid for by Michigan Realtors with regulated funds not authorized by any candidate.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort proudly presents Mr. Las Vegas, Wayne Newton live, Friday, December 27th. It's an evening of storytelling and video and song from the ultimate Vegas insider. Tickets for Wayne Newton start at $30 and are on sale now at Soaring Eagle box office or etix.com. 65 years of Las Vegas memories from the Midnight Idol. December 27th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Don't miss Wayne Newton live. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time homebuyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ROCK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ROCK to 321321. That's ROCK to 321321.
The WSGW Morning Team.
The WSGW online poll, the election of the next president. The focus on Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Though there are other candidates on the ballot, it's expected America will have either a President Harris or a President Trump. Will other candidates pull enough votes to make a difference? We'll find out. The WSGW online poll for you. Who will you vote for president? The names listed, by the way, as you'll find them on your Michigan ballot. Kamala Harris, Democrat. Donald Trump, Republican. Chase Oliver, Libertarian. Randall Terry, U.S. taxpayers. Jill Stein, Green. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., natural law. Joseph Kishore, no party affiliation. Cornel West, no party affiliation. This poll will end Tuesday, election night at 9 p.m. That's when all Michigan polls close. Head to WSGW.com, scroll down the homepage, find the online poll box to make your vote.
Your morning team, 5:30 to 9 on WSGW. It's the Stormmaster Exterior Studios of WSGW. And WSGW is online with Stormmaster Exteriors.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. I'm sitting in for Art this morning. This is Larry Rodarte. And I just want to thank WSGW for allowing me this time to fill in for Art and to talk about something that is so big in the Mexican culture. Because that's part of the reason why I was hired in to do the show, Mi Gente on Air, to bring about Latino culture and concerns and contributions on the radio program and to be at the table. And so like we're talking about today, Dia de los Muertos, which is coming up this November 1st and 2nd. It's celebrated at the same time as All Saints Day and All Souls Day within the Catholic faith, and I think other faiths as well. But Dia de los Muertos will be celebrated at the Unión Cívica Mexicana, which is at 2715 Wadsworth, from 11 to 7 p.m. on November 2nd, this Saturday. And we will have the traditional ofrendas, the altars that are indicative of Dia de Muertos. And we will also have some dressed in the skeletal faces, and we will participate in all that. But part of the big celebration that we present to the community is our food. It's always our food, right, Jonathan? But today, on this particular day, it's going to be mole, enchiladas, and what's the third thing? Oh, we're making the picadillo. So, I mean, these are some more traditional dishes that we're presenting in the cuisine. Outside of course, we're going to have the patitos and the tacos and all that. But what were you going to say?
What are those? What's mole?
Oh my gosh, mole. Yeah, I take it for granted that everybody knows, but it's like a sauce. It's like a sauce that's made from some of the chilies, but it's not hot. It can be very spicy, but it's actually made in some traditional ways of having the chilies that are grinded and then made into a sauce that is incorporating also chocolate and peanut butter.
Oh.
And it is so good on chicken. They have usually drumstick legs.
That sounds like that'd be good.
Yeah, it is. It's actually my favorite dish of all Mexican food, believe it or not. And man, when somebody makes a good mole, man, I'm in heaven sitting there with my tortillas. But yeah, the mole, the enchiladas, we're trying to just spice up our what we offer as food. And so we want to really invite everybody who is interested to see it for themselves, what our celebration is about, Dia de los Muertos. And at the same time, if they want to come and eat, it's a good way to experience some really good, authentic food, believe it or not.
Real quick, Larry, you said during the break, you said you went down to Mexico and experienced Dia de los Muertos, and I asked during the break, so did you celebrate Halloween as a kid?
Yeah, I actually did. I was a big in the Creekwood area in Bridgeport. Man, we used to have so much fun, and it was like, if I don't know if within your lifetime, if you remember, Jonathan, because you are relatively young to me, but do you remember the E.T. movie?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, well, do you remember how the kids experienced Halloween in that movie, and
Yeah.
they were all over the neighborhood and running around? That's how it was for us. I mean, kids, every kid went out. No kid stayed home on Halloween. Are you kidding me? They wanted to make sure that they were getting as much candy in their bags and their pillowcases as possible. So yeah, I really did all the way until I was probably like 17. Actually went out with Halloween with my cousin Rick, and we had a great time. And then when I went to Mexico, it was really amazing for me to see. And you asked me the question, I saw Dia de los Muertos for what it was, and they had parades. But at the same time, there was individuals there in Mexico that were bringing Halloween to their community, and they were celebrating it the way Americans do. So you had a parade for Halloween, and you had a parade for Dia de Muertos, and they just really celebrated in a big way over there. And I know that in the communities of Detroit, Southwest Detroit, and I just saw one in Grand Rapids. They actually have parades in our communities in Michigan. Saginaw, we haven't done that yet, but I know there's talk about it. We just don't know if we have the population. So I was saying that maybe this is something that we could bring to our Cinco de Mayo celebration and have that as a theme, because I see more and more, not just Hispanics either, but I see more and more that are, painting their faces and all. And I think that there was a lot more that were doing it during Halloween. And I see that they're getting away from that now because they are being educated about the true meaning, because that is a little bit offensive if somebody dons a calavera face, a skeletal face during Halloween, because we're trying to make sure there's a distinction between the two different holidays. And so one is for scaring and fright, which is okay because it's a traditional American holiday. And then the other one is a celebration of life for remembering the deceased loved ones in your heart and in your family. Any other question that you have, Jonathan, sitting there?
Not right now. I think we should take a break and think of some more.
Okay, we'll be right back.
My name is Tarsha Works, and I'm running for Saginaw County Commissioner, District 3. I would love to have your vote on November 5th. I am a small business owner of Tarsha Works Consulting. I have a passion for public service and am a strong advocate for economic development and public health. I am passionate and dedicated to moving Saginaw County forward. I would love to be your voice and serve as County Commissioner for District 3. Paid for by the committee to elect Tarsha Works for Saginaw County Commissioner, District 3.
Now, the big wireless companies want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. Now, stop overpaying for data that you're never, ever going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when all you need is a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. Now, with Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data that you actually want and need. And for example, for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk and text, 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough. And they'll include mobile hotspot and roaming in 50 plus countries. Stop overpaying for wireless. Get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. The switch is simple, fast, and easy. No contract to sign, no activation fee, and you keep your phone and your phone number. Pound 250, keyword save now. The same service for much less, for about half, from Pure Talk.
As jobs disappear, everyday prices skyrocket, and decent housing costs a fortune. It's clear we have liberal career politicians like millionaire Kristen McDonald-Rivet to blame. Campaign season, Kristen McDonald-Rivet talks about how much she's done for us. But her actual record? Millionaire Rivet gave herself a pay raise she doesn't need, while raising our taxes and your energy bills. That's right. Rivet backed legislation that nearly doubles the average electric bill for Michiganders, costing you over $2,700 a year. Yeah, it'd be nice to keep that money in your wallet. But because of millionaire Rivet's greed, she gets a pay raise, and we get stuck with higher taxes, higher energy bills, and less money to live our lives. More for Rivet and less for us. It's simple. Liberal career politician and insider Kristen McDonald-Rivet doesn't give a about us. Win It Back PAC is responsible for the content of this ad. Paid for by Win It Back PAC, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. WinItBackPAC.com.
You better build bigger bins. It's just a suggestion, but regardless, be ready to maximize your per acre profits with MX Series Corn by Stein. Our data-driven, product-centric approach quickly delivers new, higher-yielding genetics ready to perform from one of the industry's largest corn breeding programs. MX Series Corn by Stein has yield. Live your life your way with Stein. Learn more at steinseed.com.
Michigan football is on WSGW, presented by Premier Tile and Stone in Midland, the Bay Area's first choice for quality porcelain and decorative tile.
Quarterback run. He's got the first down and he slides, and the Spartans will not be able to stop the clock. And now the Wolverines can get about the business of kneeling down and finishing this football game.
Michigan football on WSGW is brought to you by Schaefer and Beerline of Frankenmuth, Lingle Equipment of Saginaw, Woolfiles Ace Hardware of Saginaw, Midland Radio, Weiss Equipment Company of Frankenmuth, Malakote Law Office, Mid-State Sewer Service, Antique Warehouse, Auto House of Linwood, Wood Reviver, Euclid Avenue Coins, Bicycle Village, Valley Heating and Cooling. Saturday, the Wolverines host another team new to the Big Ten, the Oregon Ducks. Game day coverage, 2:30 p.m. on WSGW, 790 a.m.
Welcome back. Good morning. This is Larry Rodarte. I am filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show this morning. What a pleasure it is to be with you all today on this Halloween day. It's Halloween 2024, but we're talking about Dia de los Muertos because that's also coming up, and it's going to be celebrated on the 1st and the 2nd of November. November 1st, November 2nd is traditionally All Saints Day, All Souls Day, and it's the same time that in Mexico they celebrate the holiday there. It is a holiday in Mexico, but it has become so popular in the United States, and many communities throughout the United States are celebrating and having presentations, and it's just become pretty common now. And you just didn't see this 15, 20 years ago. And the Civica, the longest serving civic organization for Hispanics in our community, is involved in presenting this for the last 15 years. In 2025, the Civica will be celebrating 80 years as a civic organization in our community. And, one of the things that, is important to me is to present our culture and tradition in a way that is educating individuals. And so we want to educate, just like I'm sure like the Saginaw Art Museum as well. They do a really good job over there for Dia de los Muertos in their presentation. We both, I think, want to educate everybody on the holiday and all, but it's also a time to put a good foot forward in what Latino culture and Latino communities can bring, to the greater community. And so I want to invite anybody who would like to share and celebrate with us to come over to the Civica on Saturday. That's this Saturday, believe it or not. Wow, tomorrow's already November 1st, Jonathan. Can you believe that? I just realized it. Today's the 31st, Halloween. Yeah, so it's actually Saturday, November 2nd. And we'll be there all day, pretty much from 11 to 7. I hope we have great weather. We're going to have great food, amazing food. I brought it up, in the last talk that we just had. And so, the whole part of why we're doing this, like this particular year, of course, is to, really present a good foot forward on what we can contribute to our community. What were you going to say?
I've got a question here from Charlie, just across the room or across the hall here.
Hey, Charlie.
He said, maybe I missed this, but is there anything people do while still alive to prepare for the celebration after they've passed? Do they leave behind mementos or ideas or how they want to be remembered?
Yeah, actually, I don't think anybody actually, unless they're really privy to knowing, that their time is coming, I guess.
Yeah.
That they actually, tell in their loved ones, okay, this is what I want on my altar. No, it's not like that. But that is such a big part, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's such a big part of the ofrendas, these altars, because what we put on there are items that they loved. I've seen if a matriarch that was a very good cook, they put a rolling pin, which is called a polote, and they may put their different cuisines that they may have made, whether it's tamales or whether it's mole. They do mole sauces, and for men sometimes you may see their favorite belt buckle or their boots. Sometimes I've seen that. I see beer cans, what their favorite cerveza is. And so, it's definitely part of it. And within the midst of all that on the altar, you see a picture of their loved ones, whether their portrait or maybe a wedding picture. And it can really tell a story. I know that last year at the Civica, I went around and I took pictures of the actual pictures of the loved ones. And then I interviewed the families and found out where were these individuals from. I tried to get the oldest picture possible so that we could tell the story of where they lived, say in Mexico, and when they came over to the United States. And many of them, of course, came because of the General Motors gray iron plant. They came for migrant field work, but then they actually stayed in the community because of General Motors. And so, we told that story, and you'll see that in the latest issue of Mi Gente magazine this month, some of those pictures and stories that we did last year. And it's really nice. I know I got a lot of good feedback where people said, we need more of that, Larry. We need more to see, and it's an educational piece for our young people as well. So it's quite a big time. It's really a big time like I said, it's growing. And what has just really surprised me, though, like I said earlier in the show, is that how non-Hispanics want to participate and make their own ofrendas. That's really something, that's saying something, I guess. And, I don't think there's any restrictions as to who can put up an ofrenda, or, it's what you feel in your heart and what you want to do. That's the way I look at it. And, I'm going to stick with that. So anyways, I hope that you've all enjoyed this time that I've been with you here today on the Art Lewis Show. And I hope I've been able to contribute both for the election with Vanessa Guerra, our Saginaw County Clerk, as well as Dia de los Muertos. And we'll be right back.
For 100 years, Michigan has been at the forefront of automotive history. The first assembly line, automatic transmissions, today's advanced electronics. Vehicle production is our lifeblood. But Alyssa Slotkin would wipe us out. She voted to allow states to ban gasoline vehicles. Slotkin helped funnel hundreds of millions of your tax dollars to foreign EV businesses that then laid off Michigan workers. And she took thousands in cash from EV lobbyists. That's what she did. But here's what she says.
I'll never put corporate interests ahead of what's right.
The truth, Alyssa Slotkin got paid off, while Michigan workers got laid off. And if Alyssa Slotkin gets her way, it's lights out for Michigan workers. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. SenateLeadershipFund.org.
Hey, it's Michael Smirkanish. Business owners and CMOs, how do you plan on growing your business? Have you plateaued on your social media and online efforts? Why not tap into podcasts and radio? In the U.S., audio reaches more than 271 million people weekly. That's more than social media and digital combined. My friends at Radioactive Media know the recipe to launch, optimize, and scale performance by building compelling audio campaigns which work. I personally know the principles of Radioactive Media, their personal approach and knowledge of the medium, unparalleled. For advertisers who want to reach the right audience with the right hosts and programs, text the word profits to 511-511. Heck, you can even buy spots on my program. If you're a mid-sized company or well-funded startup with a monthly budget as low as 5 figures, they can help. Text the word profits to 511-511. Online, radioactivemedia.com. Text rates may apply.
Blitz coming. McKenzie sees it, pitches it to the near side. And here goes Terrence Brown. He gets a block on the edge by Kraft. He's inside the 20, staying on his feet. He's inside the 5. Touchdown, Saginaw Valley.
After bouncing back into the win column with a 37-10 victory in Detroit, the Cardinals of Saginaw Valley State University return home Saturday to take on the Davenport University Panthers. Game day coverage begins at 12:30 in a special presentation of SVSU football on 106.3 FM, The Core.
That wraps up this edition of the Art Lewis Show, presented by Westside Decorating Center. Once again, I'm Larry Rodarte, and we thank you for joining us this morning. And we thank our guest, Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra, for speaking with us and informing us. And up next is the Focus Program.
Broadcasting from the Stormmaster Exterior Studios, WSGW.